4,500 years ago, an empire spanning 1,000,000 square kilometers thrived along the Indus River. At its heart sat Mohenjo Daro. Their society operated with machine-like precision. They engineered mathematically precise grid-planned streets, standardized fired brick architecture, and underground plumbing systems that rivaled the complexity of modern utilities. They even utilized a complex, standardized written language, a script that, despite a century of intense study, still completely defies modern translation. The standard textbook explanation for the city's end is one of gradual, predictable decline. It suggests that shifting river paths and changing climate patterns eventually made the region uninhabitable, leading the population to slowly migrate away. For decades, this has allowed mainstream history to categorize Mohenjo-Daro as a typical Bronze Age collapse, a civilization that simply ran its course. But when the first major excavation teams arrived in the 1920s, the reality on the ground contradicted the theory of a peaceful, organized departure. Geological core samples show no silt deposits to indicate a catastrophic flood, and the ruins show no weapon marks or mass graves that would suggest the work of an invading army. Instead, archaeologists found dozens of remains lying unburied directly in the streets. This topographical map of the excavated city plots their locations, revealing that the destruction was concentrated in sudden heat map clusters. This arrangement of remains, left exactly where they fell, leaves the gradual migration theory without a physical basis. We are left with a city that didn't slowly fade away, but stopped in its tracks. Located at the absolute center of these destruction zones is a specific material signature, chunks of crystallized clay and sand, often referred to as black glass. In geology, this is known as vitrification. It is a process that occurs only when earth and clay are exposed to a sudden, extreme thermal shock. This thermometer scale charts the maximum output of ancient heat sources. While standard kilns and intense brush fires reach several hundred degrees, vitrification requires a threshold of at least 1,500 degrees Celsius, delivered in a blinding flash. In the natural world, temperatures of this magnitude are rarely achieved. They are typically the result of direct lightning strikes, or, in the modern era, extreme thermal blasts. The presence of this fused stone scattered throughout the streets dictates that an event of impossible, concentrated energy occurred in the heart of this Bronze Age city. Mainstream archaeology has traditionally leaned on the quiet narrative of a massive natural fire to explain the damage. However, this line graph reveals the thermal limitation of that theory. A structural wood or coal fire plateaus well before it ever reaches the heat curve required to melt the city's stone foundations. The physical evidence suggests an event that sits entirely outside the known technological capabilities of the time. To find a description that matches this geological signature, we have to look toward a different dataset, the ancient Sanskrit epics, specifically the Mahabharata. These ancient texts explicitly detail catastrophic events involving weapons of unimaginable heat that were capable of reducing entire armies to ash in an instant. The epics describe a blinding light and a blast that turned the earth into glass, a description that aligns precisely with the vitrified epicenters found in the streets of Mohenjo-Daro. This forces us to consider a haunting possibility. Are these ancient verses merely allegory? Or are they eyewitness accounts of the very catastrophe that fused the stones of the Indus Valley? The presence of such extreme energy in a city from 2500 BCE places an event we cannot fully explain at a point in time where it shouldn't exist. It suggests the story of human progress contains chapters we've yet to understand. Sudden, disruptive events the ground remembers, even if textbooks do not.